We also want to talk about recently the Sisters of Loretto. And we do want to mention that you are a Dominican sister.
That's right.
Several of the orders in our county area, Marion, Washington, and Nelson County, all three religious orders in the counties are in opposition to the Bluegrass pipeline going through. And the Sisters of Loretto had a movie series, or doing a movie series. They had one showing. They're going to have the sequel coming up as well on a movie about fracking. Can you tell us a little about what is fracking and how that kind of ties in a little bit with this Bluegrass pipeline?
Okay. It ties in a whole lot with the Bluegrass pipeline, because the reason there are natural gas liquids that they want to send through Kentucky is that in Ohio, Pennsylvania, and West Virginia, there is a huge amount of fracking going on. Fracking is, technically, it's called hydraulic fracturing. And what they do is drill a hole deep down about 3,000 feet, so that's more than a half a mile down, and then they put a pipe down those 3,000 feet and they run it horizontally. And the idea is to bust up the rock way down deep, because that particular kind of rock, it's called a shale, contains some natural gas and these other gases in a liquid state. So you run water under very high pressure down the pipe, but you have to add a lot of sand to that water, because that's what breaks up the rock and holds the cracks in the rock open. And then there are hundreds of chemicals that have to be added into that water, because you have to lubricate the joints of the pipe, because you have to make the water slicker to get through the cracks. There's all kinds of different chemicals that are added into that water. It takes 5 to 7 million gallons of water to run one well. So you run 5 million gallons of water under extreme pressure, down, across, break up the rock, collect the gas out the other end, and then try to recover this poison water that you have destroyed forever, 5 million to 7 million gallons of it, and figure out what to do with it. So now there's talk of running barges down the Ohio River, and there's a process going on with the Coast Guard to decide whether they're going to allow fracking water to be run on barges down the Ohio River. If a barge were to have an accident, then all that contaminated water is loose in the Ohio River, which is the drinking water supply for Cincinnati and Louisville and Paducah and lots of other places. All right, so I knew very little about most of this stuff until last May, when I happened to come across on Facebook an article by James Brugger saying that this natural gas liquids pipeline was being proposed for Kentucky. But since then, I've learned way more than I ever wanted to know about what's upstream that's causing the need for the pipeline, and what's downstream at the end of the pipeline. And all of it is terrifying to me, because they're going to destroy the water sources, they're going to destroy the rock that's the foundation of everything we live on, and potentially, well, not just potentially, we've now learned that in the long run, natural gas causes more damage to the climate, to greenhouse gas, than coal does, which was a big shock to me. We've been told natural gas burns so much cleaner than coal, it's a great alternative to prevent the worst of climate change. Well, what we're finding out now is that when they extract the gas, a lot of methane escapes, and methane is 20 to 50 times more powerful as a greenhouse gas than carbon dioxide is from the coal. So this is, when we start putting this whole picture together, it's really ugly. It may make a lot of money for the energy industry, but what it's going to do to humans and to the natural world is absolutely terrifying. And we have to wake up and recognize this. And we have to wake up pretty fast, because the damage is being done real quickly.
So fracking is occurring. Fracking
is occurring. We're afraid that once the pipeline gets in, they're going to start fracking in Kentucky. There are indications of that already. They've already started mining tar sands oil in Logan County, Kentucky, and it's, you know, it's probably just a matter of time till they'll be wanting to frack in Kentucky as well.
So is there a movement regarding the legality of fracking as well?
There's been a lot of opposition to fracking all over especially fracking's going on in 26 of the 50 states now. And there's opposition to it everywhere, especially when it's close by. But so far, we have not been able to turn that tide. What we need to do, Gary, is to switch from fossil fuel energy to renewable energy. It can be done. It's going to be trouble. It's going to cost some money, but it's not going to cost nearly as much money as letting this continue to happen, and the damage that you know, pipelines always leak. You know, it might take 5 years or 50 years, but we know every pipeline eventually is going to leak. So if we fill up the whole country with pipelines, then what kind of future are we leaving to our grandchildren?
And it's not something just in rural areas either, when you're talking about, because actually when I was in New York, right outside the Metropolitan Museum, there was somebody talking about fracking when I was up there at Christmas time, and they were having a brochure about it. So it's occurring in, as you said, many different states, but in metropolitan areas as well, potentially. So it's something that's going on all around the country. And again, that series is with the Sisters of Loretto down in with their mother house there. They're showing that program.
It's not at the mother house. It's at Loretto City Hall.
Correct.
Yeah.
Right, at the City Hall, correct.
And it's a week from tonight, so that's January 30th.
Yeah, Thursday the 30th.
At 6:30. And last week they showed Gasland 1. If you didn't get to see Gasland 1, you can go on YouTube and just type in Gasland 1 and watch it for free. You can also watch it on Netflix.
But it is free down at City Hall,
and
too.
It's
in
free at Loretto
Sisters
City
of Loretto
Hall.
are paying for that.
So next week it will be Gasland 2. And everybody's encouraged to come out and see it, because the major thing that every one of us can do to protect our grandchildren is to start learning. We've got a lot to learn about what's going on, because it's all been kind of in the shadows. So, you know, watching movies like that. There's another excellent 15-minute video that people can watch on YouTube called Fracking Hell. And it's very powerful. It's made by a British company, and it makes clear that the plan of the industry, the energy industry, is within 30 years to have 200,000 to 300,000 fracking wells in operation. And that's just terrifying.
And the end goal of the fracking is to find these natural gas
to get the natural
liquids,
gas
right?
and the natural gas liquids.
To ultimately serve as the source of energy.
The natural gas serves as a source of energy to heat homes and industries. The natural gas liquids do different things. One of them is propane, and that a lot of us use propane. Ethane, that makes plastics. Butane, that's in your lighter fluid. So those are the different elements of the natural gas liquids. But the plan is to export them. So they're not going to benefit Kentucky. They're going to come from the Northeast through Kentucky and the Midwest down to the Gulf Coast and out to sea to be shipped to China and India and the places that we're competing with economically. Doesn't sound like a great idea to destroy your own place in order to provide the supplies for other countries that are your economic competitors.
And again, you can learn more, go on, find out some more about fracking, and also about the Bluegrass pipeline. And the bill that we had mentioned was Senate Bill 14, which is in regard to eminent domain. You can find out more about that as well. Again, I'm talking with Sister Claire McGowan, who is with the New Pioneers for a Sustainable Future in Washington County. And this has been Gary White for Central Kentucky Television.
Thanks, Gary.